Hey folks, there's closer seats over here. Get in there.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, here I come.
He's really known for, and for us, it was trying to take some of the things that Jason's talked about in terms of, like, what does it mean to have an ambient world that you really want to live in that feels different every time that you come in. And it's amazing, like really when you talk about people are the great dynamic things that you're throwing into the mix that makes the space feel different every time. And so a lot of our philosophy, even just internally for the design team, just having the mantra of we just have to let people first, not hate each other, because it's so easy to go into an online environment where it's easy to grief each other. And then secondly, what is that? Sometimes you'll see someone that may actually spark your interest, and there's something about them that you actually want to engage with them. I mean, a lot of the design philosophy around that was just constantly pushing this team, just evangelizing that across the team. We brought so many people who worked on open world games, who worked on other social games, and it was so important for us to kind of bleed that touch across the team. I don't know, even talking about that with raids was how important that was in terms of the social impact.
Having the experience, are you talking specifically about the experience in the Waking Ruins where you'll see raid groups? So Waking Ruins is a bubble on Venus, and when I say bubble, what I really mean is an environment. You'll know it as you're playing in the beta when the name comes up and says you're in, I don't know any of the bubble names on Cosmic Realm. What are the real ones? Yeah, when you're in Moth Yard.
What's a bubble? Can you break
Moth Yard is a bubble. Dry Sea is a bubble.
It's a unit of loading and of simulation for us. So if you think about all our spaces, traditionally it's a series of it's a series of bubbles. Bubbles are units for us of that's a technical thing. It's a unit of loading or simulation. Bubbles are stitched together, and basically bubbles are what are sort of the connected things. You talk about traversing. You'll have this will be a bubble that is where the raid guys will go this way. Then you have a series of bubble that then intersect, and then Emmy's that's me. There's a public bubble there where you can have this anyway. That's a bubble. Back to you.
So in the Waking Ruins, while our raid team's attempting to break into the vaulted glass, you may stumble across, you're cruising around doing some mission, and you'll stumble across and see these 6 players building something in the space that you've never seen before, or parts of the space are active that you've never seen before, and there are certainly characters that you probably haven't seen before running around in it, and it's one of those moments where you have an opportunity, if you want to jump in and help out and follow them into the door and see what's inside. But that simple story, that simple user story, I think that's what you were getting at, becomes the process, becomes this giant drawn out process of trying to figure out how do we get all these teams together. One of the things that we've talked about a bunch with space design is previously what Timmons was alluding to when he was drawing the missions with his hands, and there was the group of people. What that really is now that group of people is renting space, and the space that they're renting is that environment content is the space that they're renting in Destiny, because a bunch of the spaces are spaces we want you to come back to. We want you to go back there. We want to create, in addition to building spaces and building new spaces, we want to create new adventures for you in places we've already built.
It is. I mean, they're. When Jones 4 years ago, and it was Jones and Charlie actually when they were talking about this 5 years ago, and they were so there's this idea that we want to basically, without having any opt-in, without anything, just have other people show up in your game. That was just the stated goal. And that was a 2.5-year technical bet for fucking 30 engineers. And it was just and there were these moments where there's I'm not gonna say leap of faith that it would work. I think we thought through it socially, but it was still just really all this just for the fact that you're running along and you're just gonna see this dude who's wearing godlike level exotic armor walk by you. You didn't actually choose to play with him, he's doing something else. That's worth it. And it took, I'll never forget the first playtest that we actually had the whole system running. And again, Bungie would
Oh, we're done. So awesome. Power.
we'll just project really loud. Cool.
So basically, the first time that it happened, it was I don't know. It was that thing that the first time that you did not actually have to choose to actually join somebody after you see them. It was an amazing moment. It certainly felt like, oh my god, I think this is gonna work, because I think a lot of us were certainly terrified before that happened. And yeah, I think there's a bunch of games that have done similar things. They're like, oh yes, I'm just gonna opt in matchmaking to do this similar mission.
Yelling at you. Emotes were really divisive at Bungie. There were really two camps. There was pro and wrong. You were either for emotes or you were against emotes. And this issue, in the N years that I've been at Bungie, has way more controversy in it than anything that I've seen. I've seen stuff like VR spread, armor lock.
We talked about the Great Armor Lock disagreement of 2009.
But no, we're not talking about the armor lock disagreement. Emotes on the feedback side, the feedback side is very simple. Very simple. It's a one-line description, and then it's this. The emote feedback line, I think, was something like, and Emmy will probably remember it better than I will, but it was something like, the emotes do not fit in our universe. They do not make sense in the game fiction. And this, there was no amount of thumbs. This is the most, I was gonna say, yeah, thumb. Is that? I don't use other digits, so I'll use the thumb. Only the first 4 rows heard that.
I'll never forget, we had a team meeting where they were showing the first motion capture that they had going on so many different modes. And they're going through the ones like the hellos and the bows, and then they got to the dancing. Half of Bungie was like, yeah, dancing is amazing, and the other half was like, get that out of my game. I will burn down this building. All of a sudden, you sort of felt like it was absolutely poised.
I will turn off those microphones.
And what's even better is that on the engineering side, we get bugs logged that were like, emotes suck. I'm like, I need a designer, Emmy. Hey, here we go. So yes, that was one of many decisive issues.
Yeah, but I think that the point is not. The point, earnestly, is not like emotes are sweet. If you don't like emotes, you can get out. That's not the point at all. I said get out. If you don't like emotes, in the background, why don't you hear that? It's good. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that emotes are this funny metaphor for what we're doing as a company. We're growing in these directions that feel weird sometimes. Sometimes you see it, you're like, that is never going to make sense. We don't know anything about that. That makes me feel weird. I don't like that. That lady, I don't like the way she dances. We need to change that dance.
I'm almost positive, I'm almost positive that almost everything louder? Okay. Everything that we did on this project.
You're like, okay, and then you don't get louder. Okay, louder, and then say money. Like they stole from you. Remote. Did you sing? Use your diaphragm.
Every feature that we worked on, I think, just truly had so much learning for us internally.
Alright, is it? Oh god, are we back?
Okay.
Alright, we're gonna stop until the Bungie logo comes back up. Thank you.
What was I saying?
You're talking about emotes.
Oh yes.
Can you talk a little louder?
Well, no, I was talking about. Oh my god, these guys. Why not here to do this? Every feature, I think, was just met with a lot of pros and just a lot of self-criticism, and I think most of us had we were like looking into this darkness and going, oh my gosh, what are we doing? And I think it didn't really click for us internally until when we started building our own characters, and those characters actually became an extension of us. Like that's the first time that I think like stuff clicked for people, because almost all these features that we had never worked on before, like as Bungie, was met with fright, met with.
Because it's a general. I mean, that general philosophy we have is the like, this might be wrong, but and then you like crap an idea out.
Yeah.
And you like,
even more. I mean, we certainly did have those. Well, back on Halo moments. Like, well, back on Halo. Let me tell you the way this worked. And what's on one hand, you want to use that as a lesson, as a learning tool, but not to like cramp you to make decision making, right? Because I mean, like one of the biggest things for us was like we spent a lot of time really early on trying to nail the director. The director was a thing that we, Jason had laid out pretty clearly. Like the idea that it's not just some fucking static menu that should just sit there and pick stuff. Like it's meant to be this alive thing that's supposed to help to grab you, help you make decisions, helping to figure out what are you in the mood for? The director should provide something that you can look at that. And it was really easy to be like, well, back on Reach, that was okay. I mean, and so, we really had to, when somebody brought that up, we always had to sort of check each other and make sure, well, hey, let's take away what's the good out of that, but also like it would be very easy to just be like, well, let's just build it that way, because that's the way we knew it worked across like 4 games. But so I mean, we try to be always having those sort of more honest conversations when somebody would say that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure half of the features in the game were going to get cut until like we played it, and really like that was like for us when you said the vert slice, when we all played it internally, that was the first time we're like, oh, I understand the game we're making. And even still, we look at some of the stuff that we've done and we're like, we're not the best.
let's play the video that we brought of the vertical slice known as T30. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Well, Emmy touched on it. We were talking earlier about like, and whenever new people come to Bungie, especially because there's a lot of people who come from awesome different backgrounds, different parts of different studios, and I'll be like, well, hey, tell me, because I mean, for me, I've only ever worked at Bungie. I hear stories about other companies, and I'll be like, tell me what it was like back on, tell me what Blizzard's like, or tell me what this company's like. And with Emmy, I was like, we were talking about something, and I'm like, she's like, yeah, there's this phrase that you guys say here that I haven't really heard other places.
We're not the best.
And it's usually said, like, especially when you've gotten a feedback thing, which is that this feature sucks, and you're just like, oh god, we're not the best. So it's usually a sense of like, oh god, yeah, like that could be better. And it's it's a recognition that we're certainly trying to figure out so many things as we're building them, and yeah, some things work and some things are like, that just sucks. So.
You think that's funny? That's funny to me. I think there are a bunch of, it's funny, as you guys were talking about we're not the best, I was thinking about a bunch of features that I wish that we had that we don't.
Yeah.
And like there's, in a game like Halo, where you stamp the disc and you put it out and that's what you got. You're not getting any more features, you're not getting any more stuff. I don't mean stuff even in terms of content, I mean it's like something simple, like I've had more conversations with you and Jason about wanting to display a helmet in the tower versus my face than I like to care to admit. Because it's an example of one of those things that like we had it for a while and then at some point was not in the right place in the UI, so it went away. It was a permanent decision that was a part of building your character. Like that's where it started in the UI. And we're like, oh well, we can't. I mean, we simply cannot have that be the experience. Like, I made this guy, he's awesome, helmet on, and then 45 hours in, you're like, but I
can't remember what I look like.
What did my face look like? I want to see my face again. Like I made that choice, so we took it out, which is totally the right decision. But we would like to display stuff, like let you choose if you show your helmet or not, and that's something that we haven't done yet, and it's an example of this thing that it would be nice to have. And yeah, we're not the best. We don't have that yet. Like, oops.
I mean, so I apologize because this is gonna be not too long of a story, but I took my kids to Disneyland and I started reading a lot about Walt Disney, and Disney's talking about the story about why the fuck he built Disneyland to begin with. And he tells a story about how he was really sick and tired of finishing a product like a movie. And he talks about Snow White, putting it in the can and then it was done. He couldn't touch it again. He couldn't add to it. And he's like, my whole point behind Disneyland is I wanted a place that was like a fucking ball of clay that I could be constantly molding over time, adding to. It's not meant to be a static thing. And I read that and I was like, motherfucker, like that's exactly how I felt about Halo 2 or Halo 3 or Reach, was that we built it, but for most of the time, it's like it was done. It was in the camp. We would do tunnel updates. We would try to maintain it, but mostly it was like you never go back and be like, you know, that mission didn't really work that well. Let's try to be like, no, like it's done. And so for me, so much of this project was like, God, I want this thing that we can. It doesn't just have to be done. It can evolve and change over time, and we can try new things, and those things might suck. And you guys will be here telling us in a year about that thing that sucked that I'm sorry about, but at least we can change it, we can remove it, we can add new stuff. I mean,
We're still not doing questions and answers at the panel year from now.
so I mean, whatever. My last Disneyland stories. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't know about Holiday Land. Like Holiday Land is this thing that they tried 3 years after Disneyland opened. That was terrible, and then they removed it 3 years later, and then they put in Pirates of the Caribbean and other stuff in that area. And like I feel like that's my goal. I don't just want to work on a game. I've been tired of working on games where like we had to get it right, and then you'd be triaging bugs, and you'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, we had to cut this thing. God, that sucks. Well, it's never gonna come back. We're not the best. And they actually now, like the whole point of now is that we can actually say we can change it. We can add stuff over time. And if stuff sucks, we can remove it. I mean, that's to me the whole point of having this living, breathing thing.
I mean, that's the most exciting part. I mean, Timmons and I are moving on to the live team, and a lot of this is just like, how do we actually make this place and make it a place that you guys want to be for a really long time? And it's been an amazing experience, like working with these guys, because I've never been really a player of my own game, if that makes sense. Like, I'm really excited to play with you guys all on, you know, well,
9-9.
Yeah.
9-9 is when they get to play. No, we get to play early, but they get to play on 9-9. But I mean, like, it's so exciting for us to think, like, what can we actually change moving forward? What do we actually, like, the feedback that we get from you guys, and seeing, you know, how can we keep improving this experience for everyone? I mean, like, Smith and I are huge, like, Dota nerds. Like, we love seeing, like, hey, what's in the 6.81 patch? Oh my God, I can't believe they did. I mean, like, we just love the experience of being in this community where you can, even the things that they're changing becomes a conversation piece between you and your friends. That's something we're really excited about doing, and something I'm really excited about our game.
My last, one more. I'm sorry to bombard you.
You're doing great.
With
No,
Disney
you're
stories.
awesome.
I apologize. Anyway, so they.
Everyone
This other thing I read that Walt Disney talked about is one fucking small story where like basically, so they used to close Disneyland, right? Like they would shut the whole place down on Mondays and Tuesdays to do maintenance. So the first Monday they shut it down. Like this, like Walt has his like professional gardener, and the guy who's like, it's like the dude who like, you know, does all the like plants and shrubs and shit. So the guy's sitting there and he's like, God damn it, look at this. People are cutting across this fucking area. It's all torn up. They crushed the flowers. Like this is bullshit. We're gonna have to be like, Walt, we gotta put up fences. We gotta fence this area off. And Walt was like, no, like we need to build a pathway. The people have told us that's what they want. They want to walk this way. They'll build a goddamn pathway. And that's the way I feel. It's like everything that we've done about Destiny right now is what we thought was the right thing. And I'm so excited for you guys to play it, because then, especially for us on the live team, we're gonna be like, they want us to change it. And it's tough, right? I mean, it's not. I mean, there's also the flip side, which is, you know, if you guys like screaming something you want, obviously there's two sides of that. But like, I don't know. I mean, again, we have the tools, we have the power, we have the capability to change it. And goddamn, I want to learn as you guys are playing and see what we screwed up. I don't know. But and share it, so.
I didn't hear the guy in the back. Was it good?
Oh, Beards.
Beards, really? Man, oh my God, when beards are our biggest problem. Yes, that's gonna be amazing. I can't wait till that's the problem solved.
I want a mustache. Emotes.
There's no question and answer. This is not an audience participation thing. Contrary to the whole yelling thing earlier. So, one of the things that we haven't really talked about yet, and I think Tim had started to get into it, and Sean certainly did too, is you guys just played a bunch of the beta. Some of you, maybe, hopefully all of you. I don't know. I can't imagine not playing the beta and then like not wanting to, like, you didn't play the beta but you're gonna stand in line. That doesn't seem like those people exist. It seems weird. So there's a hand. Yep. 2, 3. Oh God. I got news for you. That character is real bad. That character is. And maybe they'll get resurrected by you, but he's gonna be naked with no beard. Instead.
What about my
Or
pants?
leggings. Yeah, but those, Timmons is wearing them. He's wearing your pants. My question was, what about my pants? The thing that I was trying to segue into was the beta, and we learned a bunch of stuff just from the beta in general. made a bunch of changes from
A
the
lot of
beta.
changes.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about some of that, just some of the process of learning? What did you see? That maybe if you have a couple of just dances that you guys are excited to see, do watch. I mean, it's totally different. The climate, and I'll even, so that you have a little more time to think about it, I'll tee up a little bit better. The climate for how people consume games is so different now than the last time we shipped. Like, when we shipped Reach, Twitch was like something that a grandparent had when they were getting sick. You know? And so, it's not written down, it just happened, I'm sorry. And the climate has changed so much since then. Like, what are you guys excited about seeing these 600 folks do?
I don't know, I think it's kind of amazing to me to see how people are communicating with one another, even without like a lot of robust tools to do it. Like, that's something that we really want to improve over time. But like, when I see videos on YouTube about Duck Duck Goose happening in the tower, and like people getting out of the map, which is like not, you know, I mean, I was one of those WoW nerds who like found the airfields outside of Ironforge, and like seeing people go out of the map in our world and going, like the artists are like, oh no, but I'm like laughing because I see a bunch of people like pointing at each other like, no, seriously, this way, and you can just see like some of them have become friends, and I like I'm hearing stories about people just communicating and bonding in that weird way, and so I'm really excited to see like what kind of dynamics are going to happen with people out there, because that's like the crazy thing about our game.
Timmons.
I mean,
No, come on, we only have like 5 minutes.
No,
to
I mean,
some of it. Seriously.
I mean, it's just I just want people to. I hope you guys like it. I feel like we've caked this bake.
Cake this
Cake
bake.
this bake.
That's awesome.
I mean, it is like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, you know, we have this awesome thing we've worked on for 4 years, and I think it's awesome, and you guys have gotten a taste of it. But I'm sure, you know, it's like we're sort of poised. We're like, open it, please. I hope you like it, and you know, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, some of the things that I remember when people would tell me the things that mattered to them about Halo and things I care about is, yeah, I mean, like what I care about are those moments where people are like hanging out with their friends, just, you know, kicking it, relaxing, and being a patrol. Like, it's like the most basic social, casual, just hanging out with your friends experience that I think that I'm really hoping we can do that again. I think beta for me, when I first started hearing stories about that, yeah, like, I mean, like when I saw the dance tower video, the dance tower Twitch video, I was just like at the end of the day, like I think about, whenever I think about myself, I think about myself on my couch as like the younger, not old, grizzly coffee drinker version of myself, and I'm just like, I just want people to enjoy the game and have fun. So I hope there's enough stuff in there for everybody. And that's the whole one of the, when we talk about the original Jones, you know, things that he wanted 4 years ago. One of them was there should be something to do for everybody as far as mood. I mean, there should be relaxing things, intense things, hard things. You know, if you want to go, you know, fucking shoot other people in the face, you can go do that. If you want to go, you know, relax and kick it in a low stress thing, you can go do that. And I don't know. I mean, I sort of feel like a bunch of us are sort of like lining up at the front gate, but open the door and watching people stream in. And you guys are going to tell us a lot about what we did well and what we did wrong. And I hope that we can be there along with you to kind of keep making it an awesome experience.
So, in closing, I'm gonna. Oh, me? I know these guys don't care what I care about.
Come on.
Is that true?
Smith, what do you care about?
Well, so earnestly, like the guys that I used to play Warcraft with, like we would always talk about Halo, and we would play a ton of Halo. And it's like, I want to play with those guys. Like, that's the thing. Like, the whole game to me has been building toward getting this band back together and getting this group of guys who I haven't really got to play something like, I mean, you know, to toot the horn of what I got to work on. I haven't played anything in a shooter like the raid that I got to work on, and like a bunch of that is, you know, for this group of people who I used to play with, and to finally sit down with those guys, like, you know, this is as a player. I mean, I ordered my own copy of the game. Like, I ordered the exact copy of the game I would have ordered because I want to have the same consumer experience as everyone else. Like, I'm psyched to get in there with like Tom and my buddies, the guys I played Dota with, and go through the game together and like play and hear them and like hear how mad they're gonna get and how happy they're gonna be, and all like sort of take the fire hose of feedback from them, just like we're gonna take the fire hose of feedback from you guys. So with that, like, I want to reiterate where I started. Like, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you so much for for spending an hour of your time with us to listen to us three jabronis like talk about basically nothing and show even less and even yell at you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming out, and this has been great. We'll see you guys soon.